out to your subscribers? Or
Sorry, say that again.
oh, does it go out to your subscribers or just
It does. It goes out
completely out?
to,
Yeah.
it does. So I've made a few changes. I have put the both the Saturday and Sunday groups. I've made them donation based. Um, and sorry, I was just noticing an energy behind a positive energy behind you, Susan.
Oh,
But um, yes, so I've made both the Saturday and the Sunday groups donation based. But if people can't afford a
I see.
donation, then that's fine. I'd rather they still join than not join because they couldn't afford a
Okay.
few euros. Um, so um, I am just noticing energy behind you, Susan, which is very positive. And perhaps
Mm.
I'll send we could do that in a private talk. But you're very connected to what I am seeing is that you're very connected to the galactics, very connected to, thank you, Native Americans, and very connected to animal spirit guides, Mother Earth, nature. My feeling is that you've got a very strong um, connection to a Native American spirit guide that works with
Mm.
you.
Mm.
That's what I'm seeing behind you, kind of in the trees.
Wow.
Um, okay,
Thank
so.
you.
Okay, so let us begin with a meditation. Oh, I forgot to say hello to everyone, to these cosmic Starseed, Cosmic Academy Starseed Sunday School gatherings. Kind of the name Sunday School is kind of stuck. And today's date is the 16th of February, 2025. And the date is 3:33. You'll have to forgive me for 2 seconds. I have to also invite someone by text. Okay, so please forgive me. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place today. So let us step into a meditation, sit comfortably, back as straight as you can possibly have it, feet flat on the ground or the floor, hands comfortably in your lap, and breathe in through your nose, down to your belly, and hold it for as long as comfortably possible. And then breathe out through your mouth. You can make a sound or a noise if you want to. And do that 2 or 3 or 4 more times,
Mm.
many times as you want. Oh, please, everyone, if you could mute yourselves, if you haven't already, and place your hands on your heart if you want to. You can have your eyes open or closed. And it can be left hand over right, or right over left, or left over right. It doesn't really matter which. And just visualize a heart shape of love. It may come from above or it may come from within you. But wherever it comes from, give it to yourself. Give this love to yourself and just sit with it a moment. Just visualize a heart surrounding you completely above your head, above your crown chakra, coming out as a point, completely surrounding you and covering you, and meeting beneath your feet at the point. And you can do that front and back and side to side. And this heart energy is just completely encompasses you, encases you, completely surrounds you. You become aware of Ashtar, commander, Pleiadian chief. You may, thank you, you may even become aware of his sister. Both are thin, blonde hair, long blonde hair, pale skin, thin, white skin, blue eyes, kind of angular features. And you might feel a sense of something happening with your third eye. Sensation or a sense of energy, a sensation of it opening. You become aware of angelic light beings around you, as well as Ashtar and his sister, Jesus, Merlin, Mother Mary. And just breathe in. You may become aware of some of our brothers and sisters, like Lyrans and Syrians and other Star Nation beings in love and light. You may begin to see images of you in a past time that may not be Earth, maybe somewhere else out there in the galaxy, in the universe, in space. You may see sparkles of light or other images. Let us begin with this week being week 4 and the Atlantis reversal, where we've said this before many times, And that is the focus of today's group session, being the Atlantis reversal, which always sparks something, ignites something, excites this one. So let us go back to the beginning. We always say that there are many beginnings, and this is just one particular beginning, or a certain beginning in your history on Earth, where these negative beings had to leave their home in ships. As their home was being devastated and destroyed. And these negative beings went out and left their home, began to search the universe for other planets, other life, other places that would be a suitable, habitable planet or place for them. And they discovered Earth. And yet they kept their distance. For hundreds of years, perhaps even thousands, above the Earth in ships. Concocting a plan. Drawing up plans, forming ideas, putting into place a plan, a structure, a detailed itinerary, gathering, being creative, forming, concocting a mixture of ideas and their own creativity of how to instill, how to structure this plan of an overtake. Of humanity that were living and existing on Earth at the time of Atlantis. They observed very well the energies, the palaces, the crystals. They were not unnoticed, but they kept their distance. They were not seen as a threat when they were witnessed from the Earth. They were not seen as a threat, or rather as visitors, just who were watching, thank you, and observing the Earth. There was a curiosity from the occupants of Atlantis, were curious about these beings. They did not realize that these beings were negative because it was outside of their thank you. It was outside of their frequency range. So once these beings, let us call them negative ET energy, as we always do with this one, Soma, when these beings had fully drawn up plans that they wished to progress with and instill on Earth, that were plans for thousands of years of how to overtake, how to control, how to manipulate down through the ages. In the future, they also made plans for hundreds of years ahead, thousands of years ahead in advance. Once they had everything prepared and ready to go, they landed, and thus began the downfall of Atlantis, where the beings, the human, let us call them human beings, who had lived there for thousands of years in what you now call Atlantis, or is now known, thank you, Dennis, for joining, or what is now known as Atlantis. Atlanteans operated on a much higher frequency, a much higher dimension, a much higher awareness, much higher. They did not operate in the same way as you do today. They did not operate in the same way as you do today. Their frequency was higher. Their awareness, their abilities, their telepathy, their knowledge, their wisdom, their understanding, their when we show Soma these images of Atlantis, we always show her as the Atlanteans being taller, somewhat, and very crystalline bodies, shimmering, white, clear, luminescent, pastel color, shimmering within the aura, white clothing, palaces and columns without ceilings or without roofs, open to the sky, open to the elements, with huge crystals, green, jade, emerald, turquoise, huge crystals, the biggest houses that used to be in the center of different palaces, used as healing tools that you could hug and lay into, lay your bodies upon. You were operating at a higher frequency, a higher dimension, and you had contact with more with us and with more with others like us, Syrians, and you all had, thank you, you all had channeling abilities and connected in with us daily. You were not limited in the way you are now. So your abilities, your DNA was unchanged. You were living in a paradise. Once these beings had landed, while they were concocting their plan, they thank you, they had realized that in order to overthrow Atlantis and take control of the earth for the resources and other reasons, egoic reasons, that they realized that they had to, in order to control, they had to change you. They had to change your DNA, your energy. They had to ensure that you became much more subservient and followed orders. And in order to do this, they realized very early on that they would need to change your DNA. Being creators of life, which we all are, as star nations, we all create life. We have created life. They have created life. All star nations, such as Pleiadian, Sirian, Arcturian, Lyran, all are creators of life and have seeded life in many different places, not just Earth. So these reptilian beings changed your DNA in order for you to become manageable, manipulated, controlled, dumbed down by changing your DNA and taking out aspects, codes, DNA. Thus began the downfall of Atlantis. We'd like to add that these reptilian beings contain a very dark energy that is very dark, and that black magic was used on you in Atlantis. You were also taught about black magic in stages, in little bits in the beginning. You were veered off course and led down a wrong path, and you learned in baby steps, in very small bite pieces to begin with. You were taught how to use magic in a negative way. We are using the word magic for now because that is largely how your society understands it. Of course, it is not magic. It is just other aspects of you, of your higher selves, which were lessened and taken away at the time of the downfall of Atlantis, due to your DNA being, parts of your DNA being cut off and removed. But these parts of you were originally innate within you. You all had these abilities to manifest, to create beauty, magic, manifesting, creating, communicating telepathy with one another, with each other daily, with us daily. And gradually these beings brought in and led you onto the path that they wanted you to be on, so that they could control, govern, have ownership of humanity. And little by little, like children, you followed the Pied Piper for the sweets, for the treats, for the rewards of the magic. And the energy became darker and darker and darker until some of you, a lot of you actually, became very dark, or rather you learned to use energy in a very dark way. And thus the downfall of Atlantis began, or had already begun. But that was just another concrete post in its place, or a nail in the coffin, or a chess piece being moved. We have shown DT, and many of you will know who we're talking about. We have shown DT, as we work very closely with him, we have shown him many things. One in particular being Atlantis. Up close and personal. There are many exceptional beings on your planet, and he is most definitely one of them. But there are many of you scattered across the earth that are less known, in the extreme less known. Your world today, okay, thank you. Your world today is a parallel timeline to what happened in Atlantis, where you chose a wrong path. And as we were saying just now, many of you went down a very dark path and misused much of your energy, although that was instigated to steer you into their agenda and their control and manipulation. You did misuse your abilities, your powers to deceive. Through being deceived yourselves, you made bad choices. And things were blown up and torn apart. Devastation and chaos began. And thus, again, we say, the downfall of Atlantis occurred. And now you are here in this, we say, parallel timeline to correct your mistakes, if your soul wishes it. You are here to correct the timeline, correct your mistakes. The ascension process has many aspects. One of the aspects that is very important to ascension evolution now is Atlantis. It is one of the most important aspects. Another important aspect is your evolution now and your ascension now, where so many of you who had lifetimes in Atlantis, and we would even include Jesus as having a lifetime in Atlantis, which is news to Soma, that Jesus would have had a lifetime in Atlantis and that his lifetime being known as Jesus was not his first lifetime. This is news to Soma. This being that you call Jesus or Yeshua is one of us, is Pleiadian, is a star being, is a star born, not of this earth, not human, is more than human, and is one of us, Pleiadian, but has been other beings, other things, and had a lifetime in Atlantis, and had lifetimes before that on your planet, such as Lemuria. Soma finds this very interesting because she's not heard it before. All of you are travelers of the galaxy. None of you are really from Earth. Earth is just a place that you visit or inhabit sometimes. So where things went wrong in Atlantis, all those beings that lived there at that time, especially the ones who made bad choices and were manipulated into a wrong path, are here to now, in this time on your planet, to ensure, thank you, that you ascend. The reason, the most important reason for that is that evolution, which you are in, is not contained to your Earth, but it affects us and the Seven Sisters, the Pleiadian star system. It affects the Syrian star system, the Arcturian, the Lyran. It affects everything within the universe. This ascension process, evolutionary period that you are in, affects everything in your universe. We will not allow, nor will others like our brothers and sisters, for this ascension to not occur. We will not allow it, because it would have dire consequences on everything within the universe. We will say that again. Should this ascension process go wrong again this time, which it cannot, we will not allow it. We will simply not allow it, because, and neither will our brothers and sisters, such as Lyran, Arcturian, thank you, Syrian, allow it either, because it would cause the destruction of the universe to impact, to explode, to implode, and another would be born in its place, as is the truth. Universes are born, live and die, born, live and die. They explode, they implode again and again and again. Birth, life, and death exists on all levels, again and again and again and again and again. So this ascension is directly linked to the existence of the universe as it is today. affecting everything within your universe, stars, planets, suns, moons. You get to ascend this time, whether you want to or not. Evolution is upon us, is upon you, is upon everything in the universe. Far-reaching, every tiniest, minutest grain of sand that exists, whether it be cells or molecules or matter, dark matter, doesn't matter. Humanity is evolving into, physically, into a more crystalline human being, more evolved, jumping back to the ways of Atlantis, the way things used to be, operating at a higher frequency. But not even going back and jumping back to Atlantis, you are jumping back to remember, and then you are jumping rapidly forward into a higher timeline than you had in Atlantis. You are simply jumping back to remember and then being propelled forward again. We often use an example to Soma of a coil which represents your DNA. And this can look, the image we often show her, Soma, is of a coil that is silver, much like a corkscrew or copper. And this corkscrew is your DNA. And when you pull it, which originally had 13 strands, not 12, and when you pull this coil and stretch it to its utmost limitation and let go, which is what's happening now, this coil will revert back to its original shape, its natural blueprint of 13 strands of DNA. And you are jumping back to that. But then you are moving forward. Having jumped back to remember, you are then going forward at a rapid pace, at a rapid space. You are not just going back to Atlantis and staying on that higher dimension, that higher level. You are going back to remember and then jumping forward very quickly to a higher timeline than you had in Atlantis, a more evolved DNA than you had in Atlantis of 13 strands of DNA. So you are jumping back and moving forward rapidly. Your DNA is evolving. Your consciousness itself is evolving. Your bodies are changing, becoming more than you are now, jumping back and becoming more than you were in Atlantis. Atlantis and the ascension process now are intertwined like a spiral that is intertwined with 2 different or 3 different spirals of energy. There is Atlantis within this spiral of energy. Thank you. We've never described it this way before to Soma. So there is a spiral, a singular spiral of Atlantis, a singular spiral of now, and a singular spiral of the future you and the future of humanity, the future of humans and where you are going, and the ascension process, the evolutionary strand or spiral. And all these strands are moving and working in conjunction with each other, and they are what is that word? Thank you. Communicating with each other. These three strands of, you could also call them timelines, these three dimensions or versions or timelines or energies or DNAs or even soul aspects of you that are all coexisting and operating now and in communication with each other now, are working in conjunction with each other to help build each other up. So as one strand will be higher than the other, this strand will pull this strand up because you are working in contingent with each other, helping to build each other up. As one builds a wall that is higher or gains momentum and becomes more than it was, it pulls the other up. So as you go up this scale of evolution, all these strands are working in conjunction with each other. We would like to expand on that a little and use this example of the three strands working in conjunction with each other, being you now, you in Atlantis, and you in the future, which are all existing now, by the way, let us add. These three strands can also be representative of planets, thank you, and suns and moons and stars. And the elements, such as water. We will talk more about water in one of our future transmissions within these weeks, these Sunday school transmissions, talks, teachings, workshops, channeling, whatever you name you wish to use. The God element of water. That is a subject. Now would be a good time for questions.
Uh, Hello. Yeah, I got one. So, where did the Atlantis reversal happen? Like, is it some place? Was it some place in the universe, some planet, or some city in some place? Where and when? I'm just getting curious.
Great question. Atlantis was your whole earth. Atlantis was your whole earth. It was a time period it was a period of time called Atlantis that was not limited to one place. There were several places on your planet at the time that people existed. There were main cities, main structures, main centers, but all of you were equal in operating on that level of consciousness. Atlas is also a word play on Atlantis. Atlas, Atlantis. So it was everywhere, but there were several main cities where there were large cities, large areas on your planet. It was not one singular place.
So, was it like a city that sank a long, long time back? I think 11,000 or more than years. There's some catastrophic water ice events?
That is a great question. We are more aware than Soma, and so we did not cover this when we were speaking of the Atlantis reversal. We were actually waiting for your question, which can be a bit mind-boggling sometimes to think or to know that we're more aware, or we have, that's the wrong words, but we have more, we see more of the bigger picture. So let us also explain, because we missed out an important section deliberately because we knew your question would come. When these beings, these negative ET energy beings, were observing your planet, thank you, when they were constructing their plan, they realized that they would need to physically impact the Earth. And this is very important, what we're explaining. The level of and we haven't explained it to this in this way before, even to Soma, but the level of consciousness operating in Atlantis at the time, the level of consciousness operating in Atlantis at the time was a direct correlation to the Atlanteans having a direct connection, very strong connection to the earth, the trees, the plants, Mother Nature, a very, very strong connection to the earth, to the point the Atlanteans were in direct telepathic communication with your Mother Earth. Let us say that again. The Atlanteans, and this is why, thank you, and this is an important question. We are glad you asked. We have even guided you to ask this question, and we deliberately did not include this 10 minutes ago. So the downfall of all great civilizations in your Earth history, such as Atlantis and Lemuria, have all been caused by the Earth being changed or affected some way. And all of those great civilizations have had a very individual relationship with your Mother Earth. So in the way that you were able to telepathically connect to us and to each other, you were also connected to Mother Earth, which is also linked to the Celtic spiral of 3. The Celtic spiral of 3 is a direct picture of remembrance of these days, of being telepathically able to communicate with us, telepathically being able to communicate with each other, and telepathically being able to communicate with Earth. It is the spiral. That is what the original spiral meant. This is new information to Soma. We haven't shared this before through her. So the Celtic spiral, there is many mysteries of what, and misunderstandings and misteachings of what this spiral represents, but we can clarify that that's what it means. It is a pictation, a physical pictation of telepathic communication with us and other stars nations, telepathic communications and relationship with each other and with the earth. When one of those is broken, it distorts all of it. It is a systematic working in conjunction with each other. So when one is broken or dismantled or destroyed, all are. So let us explain what happened. An important part of what happened at the downfall and destruction of Atlantis by negative ET beings is that they understood that the Atlantean and Lemurian, we're going to take time explaining this because it is a huge importance within this historical period in your history, not just to do with Atlantis, but before the Atlantans and their downfall. Thank you. Bear with us. So the reptilian energies understood eventually that they would need to destroy your connection, telepathic heart connection. On a telepathic level, you were able to communicate with the earth. Telepathically, you were given information, you were given advice, intuition. Telepathically, like taking dictation, you were able to know what herbs to use and much more information. This was not just about healing. This was about seasons, about nature, about remedies, about your bodies, about who you were, where you came from, why you were in existence. It was also to do with the history of Mother Earth, the history of the other planets, suns, stars, moons. So some of you are able to communicate with trees still these days. In the times of Atlantis, you were all able to communicate with your Mother Earth. You did not need anything else outside of yourself because you had direct telepathic communication to your mother. The Earth has deliberately, lovingly been adapted to habitate humans. The Earth has been tweaked by us, by loving star nations, to ensure that it was livable, it was habitable for you in a positive way. So the negative reptilian energies understood your connection to Mother Earth, which they did not have and still do not have, nor will ever have, because your energies are different. Your energies are attuned naturally to your Mother Earth, which is, thank you, which is why when you go out and stand with your bare feet on Mother Earth, you absorb energy. You are communicating with your Mother Earth. As in days of old, you are remembering, and there is a communication that starts. But then it ends, kind of ends, as soon as you go indoors or put your shoes on and sever the connection again. Okay, so there's something here we want to explain and share. That when the reptilian or negative ET energies were concocting and planning, they understood that they would need to sever your connection to your Mother Earth. The Native Americans remembered, some Okay, so the negative ET, thank you, the negative ET energies understood that they would need to sever your connection to Mother Earth. The way they did this is to deliberately knock your Mother Earth off its natural axis. This was deliberate. This was not a natural meteor or object hitting the Earth naturally. It was a large object, such as a meteor, let us say, but it was not natural. It was put into place. It was deliberately manufactured, deliberately created in order to sever the Atlantean connection to Mother Earth. This is the only way they could ensure their plan was worked, was to change the shift, the natural axis of your planet, which is what they did, which is what happened, causing mass destruction and devastation on your planet and an ice age or ice ages, shifting landmass, creating devastation, creating disconnection, not just from Atlanteans and Mother Earth, but also dividing, cracking, pulling apart physical landmass, creating tidal waves, creating tsunamis, creating weather disruptions, creating land shift, landslides, huge destructive situations everywhere. Atlantis was not a singular place. It was your whole Earth. There are many cities that were in existence at this time, which you sometimes call Atlantis. But in truth, it was everywhere. It was a civilization that populated your Earth at that time, who created, with our help and other helps, large cities, structures, palaces. The Earth was knocked off its natural axis and land mass moved. And thank you, as we explained earlier, where your DNA coil has been stretched to its limit and now it's been let go and you are going back to a natural blueprint of how we designed you, and not even back to that, but you are going beyond into an evolutionary period. So the Earth is now, so we are using that example because the Earth was shifted off her natural axis, off her natural blueprint, and she too, like you, is now going back onto her natural axis. This has been proved. One of the ways it has been proved is that pilots are having to, and have had to for some time, readjust their compasses. No. Atlantis was everywhere. Columns, cities, structures of light with great crystals, healing temples, open to the elements, Any questions? We would like to take some refreshments there.
I have one more.
Go ahead.
So it says like Earth shift is still that is 23 something in every 25, 26,000 year. So which is kind of natural. And in other case, like which when it was maliciously kind of pulled into different direction, so there was some more tilt, some more natural calamity kind of thing. Is it?
Have you frozen?
Oh no. Hello.
Can you repeat your question?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So I was thinking like Earth, in some book I read like Earth changes its tilt, like for example, right now, which it is in North Pole is in the Arctic. So back in 25, 26,000 year, it was still the Canada. So which is kind of a natural kind of tilt, or does this complete this cycle of the tilt in 25, 26,000 year? But in case where it was controlled by more of ET and reptilian beings, it was intentionally caused to move in different tilts and direction, causing more damage. So is it real like this changes the things much around the tilt and the natural calamity?
We will come back to your question. Let us take a break. To cover your question briefly, we would say, Ashish, that it is a natural progression, a natural contracting and expanding, a natural laws of consciousness and awareness that has certain periods of time loosely at either end, so loosely at the beginning and loosely at the ending. There's periods and times and cycles and within everything, which is a natural law of contracting, expanding, a natural law of consciousness itself, a changing of the weather, a changing of, but all is true. So you have within the weather system, you have sun, rain, and varying degrees within those. But it is a cycle of sun, it is a cycle of rain, it is a cycle of dry period, it is the cycle of rain, different cycles, different time periods, loosely speaking, within everything, within source itself has a beginning, a middle, and an end. the beginning being known as the Big Bang, which we explained in one of our previous sessions, and the ending of Source being an explosion or exploding or imploding on itself. And then so it begins again and again and again. The Big Bang has not happened once, but has and will eternally occur again and again and again and again. There are smaller cycles and bigger cycles. One of the smaller cycles would be you having a physical life now. But you have had and will have thousands of lifetimes, some on Earth and some that are far from Earth, some with us, some with Sirian, Lyran, and the multitude of star nations that exist. And you are an aspect of Source, which has its own cycles. There have been many universes, many big bangs and beginnings, and many endings. It is never ending, imploding or exploding again and again and again and again and again and again. Sometimes Source or creation itself will pause to breathe before it recreates again and again and again and again. There are pauses, there are time cycles of everything.
That is a very interesting concept, that there would be a cycle of contraction of consciousness. But I understand how that could be. Not only are we immortal beings as spiritual beings and fractals of Source, not only did we choose to be here in this realm called Earth, with a veil of forgetfulness, with total free will, which allows so much tyranny and evil. Not only have we chosen to be here in this very dense environment, but more so than that, we have co-created it. As fractals of Source, we have designed this very challenging experience. And we have done that because we have had the experience of living in other spaces which didn't have this totality of free will, where there wasn't such wide expression of evil, and we have learnt our lessons and had our pleasures and experience in them. So here we have chosen this challenge to be able to connect with Source and express Source, even though the environment is so conflictual, it is so dense, it is so 3D. And in doing so, we are expanding love by being able to live and love and hope and trust in such an environment. Um, so, does that make some sense?
Yes. And we need to bring all of that into more of our daily lives as well.
So it's all your fault, Ashish. Yes, we all have a part in creating this very challenging game, and we all have a part in winning it, in completing it.
But yeah, back to the question. Sorry, I feel.
No, go ahead.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm just again thinking. So I'm a kid in the room. So if somebody has more questions, then they can go ahead first.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Ashish.
I think I'm the only one. So I'm thinking again. So if it is like natural cycles happening in the earth, like a tilt and all those things. So and if it is natural cycles and places like Atlantis, and there were many places along the shores of the various countries and the cities which got kind of submerged in some catastrophic event, uh, which is a natural cycle, then where does those ETs stepped in to derail it from natural cycle? Because if it is natural cycle, then it is kind of bound to happen again. Like Ice Age has a very long cycle, maybe. Uh, I don't know, but I'm just guessing, maybe 50,000 plus year. So right now, kind of, we are in the middle of the Ice Age. So this global warming kind of thing also has two parts. One is kind of we are one is kind of Earth natural heating and cooling cycle. When it cools too low, it's kind of become Ice Age.
You know I'm talking to you. Shush. So, okay. So, firstly, I'm gonna. I know Dennis is itching to say some things, but firstly, I don't believe that there is global warming in the sense of what we're being told it is. The other thing is that they've always said to me that the destruction of Atlantis, that the negative ET energies, they engineered something into place, probably a meteorite or some large something that hit the Earth, probably a meteorite.
Yeah, asteroid something. Yeah,
That,
right. Yeah.
so that wasn't a natural thing. That wasn't a natural cycle. That was instigated and put into place to for the destruction of Atlantis. Dennis, what did you want to say? And then we'll go around the group as well, I think.
So, as fractals of source, we are, in essence, not created. And we are there in the beginning and co-creators of all matter, space, energy, and time. And in that, we are our starseed ancestors. So back in history, we have been both positive and negative extraterrestrial beings in other galaxies. And then we ourselves have been involved with life here on Earth. And some as positive in seeding the DNA and coding it so that it has certain maybe abilities and abilities to remember and reconnect even in very challenging circumstances. And also we have been, or we have connection to, because we are all one, with negative beings, be they reptilian or other, who have been intervening on Earth for their own short-sighted, because they have distanced themselves from source and love for their own purposes of power and gain, such. And here we are choosing this expression of life, and we have that history. We have been seeding some of these actions that are good and evil from positive ETs and negative ETs, and here we are, the experiencer of this environment. I might have gone off a track there somewhere. Does that some way speak to your question?
Yes, somewhat.
So there have been influences by negative starseed groups to damage life, to make it more challenging, to separate us from consciousness, to separate us from source. All of these actions have been there, but then we, as fractals of source, one with all that is, we have been involved in creating some of those challenges for ourselves, so as we can here be in this time have the victory of overcoming those challenges that we have allowed in the divine plan.
Let me go into that a bit. So at the time of COVID,
I'm going to leave you with that, but thank you very much.
well, can you hold on 2 minutes?
Thank you.
All right, okay.
Okay. So thanks, Dennis. So at the time of COVID, it took me a little while, or a few months, or a few weeks, I forget how long. It took me a little while to realize that people were it took me a little while to realize that the negative agenda was having a positive effect and impact. It didn't take me a while to realize that people were waking up and becoming more awake and aware with things to do with health. But it took me a while to realize that the negative agenda was actually a good thing, in the sense that it helps to wake people up. So it pushes people up, because it goes against love. It goes against humanity, the human race, humanity. It goes against God. It goes against source. It goes against everything that is good and of benefit and for the people. And the negative agenda is a very evil force at play that has their own negative agenda. But they are pushing the people and pushing the people and pushing the people. And these people are raising up and pushing back. So that is a positive thing. So without this, there would be no raising of consciousness. There would be no need for it to expand and evolve, which is what's needed within the whole universe. Species are needing to evolve, not just humanity, but also other species like the Pleiadians and Sirian and Lyra. So it's not contained to Earth, it's far-reaching implications and effects. The whole universe is on an evolutionary period and timeline. It's not just limited to Earth. So the whole universe is on an evolutionary period, which is why the main reason why the Pleiadians and others like them will not allow us to not evolve, because it affects them, it affects suns, stars, moons, planets. It actually affects the whole universe. It actually, thank you, it actually affects all species, including the reptilian and the more negative species of ETs and star nations. So I just wanted to add that.
Except we were already evolved based on what you just told us about the time or the place in Atlantis. We were already evolved. So the only ones that weren't evolved as part of that story were the negative ETs, but it's a heck of a lot to go through just to bring them up.
You're right.
And I know it's not them and us, but it's just really hard to accept. Yeah.
There's something you're missing on that, Susan, that's important. As I said, this is something that we have a hand in co-writing and creating, and it's because we are giving ourselves a challenge that we have not been able to do before or have never done before. So while we have lived as enlightened beings and creators of wonderful things with great wisdom, all that has been easy for us to fly around in our chariots that we create with our mind and create beautiful things with a thought. We have been masters of all of that. So now we have raised ourselves to an ultimate challenge of being creators and of being loving by putting ourselves into this environment that has such density and such resistance and so much separation from source and such low consciousness, for us to be able to operate in that and create positively and be in our essence an expression of source and divine love. Here we are giving ourselves the greatest test, and when we return after this, we will understand ourselves as being more raised up and more ascended and enlightened than we have ever been. And the truth of it is, our brothers from the Pleiades, from Arcturus, from Syria, from Andromedan, those beings look at us, and we are the young kids in the block in this young society, with great honor and admiration. So these ascended beings look on us with great honor because we have a courage to exist and be an express source in such a demanding place, which we have chosen, and indeed which we have a hand in writing and creating. And before we came in here, some of our family from these galaxies said, "What the fuck are you doing going there? And you want, It's the ultimate game. I want to do this. I know I can love, but I'm here to prove that I can love in this environment. I can shine no matter how much the dark and injustice and evil presses around me. I will shine my light. I will transform this area and help unwind it.
Mm.
And when we do that, it's not just we are richer, but when we do this, we expand source.
What you said is actually really beautiful. Not all of it, just the last part.
Yeah, we expand source because as fractals of source, source breeds in our learnings and our experience. And now source can love more because we have been doing what seems impossible. All right.
Thank you, Dennis. It was beautiful what you said.
Well, thank you. Lovely to join you. Okay. I'm signing out. Bye-bye now.
Bye for now. Susan, did that answer your question?
It's just, it's still really hard because I don't know that for myself. I'm hearing it, and it seems like it's a heck of a lot to, I mean, I may have said that already, a heck of a lot to go through. And
It is.
yeah.
It is.
And so, I mean, it's not something I could readily understand, because I don't know any of it from myself.
Maybe it would be good for you to watch it back. Maybe. Maybe.
Oh, watch it back.
Yeah, maybe. I have a feeling that some of the answers will be given to you over the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. All right.
There'll be answers given to you. And not just not just the next 2 to 3 weeks, but the next 2 to 3 weeks to 6 to 7, 8 months, 9 months. They're saying you have a lot of questions, and they're not ordinary questions. They're very deep questions. Even though they may appear to be ordinary to the likes of us, there's more beneath the surface that you're wanting to know. So when you're asking a question, what I'm seeing is that there's another question beneath that, and beneath that. You like to dive deep and really get to the source and the heart of things. And you may even get answers in images. I hope that helps, Susan.
Appreciate it. And to Dennis too. Thank you.
Dennis and I don't always agree on everything, which is okay. And even when we don't, I think he always has a validity to what he's saying. I often, when I often occur, or when that happens with people where they're not agreeing with what I'm saying, I always see an image of a tree where there's people around a tree, and they're all having the same experience, but they're just seeing a different perspective. That's kind of how I see not only Dennis, because I've been seeing this tree for a very long time, since around 2010 or 11, where people just are having the same experience, but just a different perspective. And see, and you know, it's a bit like when someone has an accident and there's several people involved in some type of collision or accident, and all of them will give you a different scenario of what occurred. None of them will say the same thing. So it's a bit like that. And no doubt more information will come over the next couple of weeks. I have to add that they've told me to, originally they said it was 17 weeks, but since we started and we're in week 4 today, they've said to turn it into a weekly. So I'll do the 17 weeks of like the whole workshop was originally they told me what to do, so I wrote it down, and originally it was 17 weeks, and they've said since that it will become a weekly thing, and that they will add other weeks on with other subjects. I don't know what those subjects are, they haven't said yet, but no doubt they'll say hopefully over the next couple of weeks, and I'll just keep adding to it then, so it's a weekly thing really. I did want to get to Kathy as well, because I think she's only got not long left to, I think she's busy doing other stuff. So any questions that weren't asked today, we can kind of carry them over to next week. Kathy, is that? Sorry, Ashish, go on.
Yeah, just a comment I have. So I completely resonate with Susan, because there's a lot of things to process out, like a lot of different layers of question, like, okay, this happened, why did this happen? And there are strings of things attached to it, because things doesn't happen in isolation. They must have leave some kind of footprints, some trails, so that okay, this happened of this thing, that happened of this thing. So again, like we can back on the asteroid story for some other time, but yeah, there are
Yes.
trails of the thing. It's like a lot of questions.
Yeah, they're happy to go over stuff, and some weeks maybe just questions and recaps. I think they want to get through the 17 weeks and then have a look at stuff. But yeah, every week will be questions as well. And they love talking. So, and they've got so much to say. So there's always time for questions. You know, it may not be all done in one day, but it's a continuation.
Right, because to create a complete big picture of the kind of reality or history or chronology of the things, like things should make kind of sense in some sequential fashion.
Yes.
Of sequential or maybe non-linear, but at least it should make some kind of sense. Because right now we have information, for example, like this kind of civilization that existed before. We have a lot of information about it from other creatures, like they have fossils, some other records, some records in cells, some footprints, some kind of dating, some other stuff. So we can go back in time before humans, dinosaurs, and even before long time back, in the words of bacteria in the Earth history. But again, yeah, there are a lot of information on that side, but there's very much kind of crisscrossing information on other front.
Yeah.
Which sometimes it's difficult to make sense. It's like wandering in the open ocean and trying to make where's the right, where's the wrong, where's the straight. But when you travel in the road, like straight highways and other connecting roads, streets, like there's some right, there's some left, and going straight.
It might be good for you to watch back the previous 3 weeks. So one was the first week was the Earth's history. Week 2 was the galactic history, and week 3 was our true history. So it might be good for you to, because some of those weeks they cover information on those things, but they also include dinosaurs and giants, and the Earth used to be a lot smaller, and they covered 1 week. They covered about the oceans and how we've now got the vast amounts of water that we have. And they've covered other things as well, but those are some of the things off the top of my head that I remember. Yeah, and then they did cover 1 week there. I think might have been not sure what week it was, but one of the weeks they did cover creation itself. So yeah, it would be good to go back and watch those weeks. And those are on my Substack, Soma Aral.
So does this information derive from psychic sources mainly, or like there are other sources? Like when you connect from the energies, ETs, and other beings. So like information about the past civilizations and how they are influencing, how they have influenced the past, or maybe they are influencing the present also. So all this information derives from like connecting with those energies, ETs, or like they have some kind of different thing, like maybe some distant cave in the past, they have some kind of record or that kind of thing. Maybe some other footprints. I don't know, I'm just kind of guessing maybe.
I'm not sure what you're asking.
For example, let's say
Susan,
recently some
sorry, you were going to say something. No, maybe not. Sorry, Ash.
For example, some days back I came across an article where they were talking about Neanderthals, like we are Homo sapiens and before us there were Neanderthals, and there are some caves as long as 40,000, 50,000, and in case of like aborigines, their civilization can be traced back to 70,000 years. So like all these things, we have some different kind of footprint. Like, okay, they have some kind of, some old fossil, some old other tools, evidence, basically tools. And we can trace out like, okay, when this thing came into place and how much this thing has been converted to some other element. So these things are different way of, scientific looking where we can figure out the thing, like in common man terms also. But in terms of ETs and other beings, it really get difficult. For me, at least, I don't have. Uh, I only have book as the backings, but other way, like I don't know, like how this information came across.
Okay, so there's some great questions there that you're asking. So if you could write them down, and then next week, we can go through some of them.
Yeah, I have many questions here.
Can I just say something quickly about that? Because just two things come to mind. One is the Akashic, which I believe is the same for the galactics, I believe, the Akashic, and Indra's net. So just everything, all information is available, all understanding, with the right connection, the right frequency. So that's my understanding.
What was the second thing?
Indra's net. So it's the true internet. It's Indra's. I think it's INDRAS. Indra's net.
Indra's net. Okay.
So it's the information available across, I think, all time, all space, all dimensions. Yeah.
That's interesting word. Intranet, and this is Indra's net.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay, guys, thank you all so much. Katra, is there anything you wanted to say?
No, actually, no. I'm digesting information, but I have a lot of different kind of sources where I gain my information from. And I think that's a very good thing, actually, to have different kind of points of view. They are all like, it's like a big barrel, and there are a lot of holes looking all inside the barrel. So the information is basically the same, but yeah, who is telling the information is, or the point of view is a little bit different, but it makes sense at the end. But I need my time, and I'm listening, I'm digesting, and yeah, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. I think that's really important as well, to get different perspectives. One of the reasons being is that we do pick up different vocabulary as well. That helps us to expand our vocabulary, which is needed because the language, English language, not just English language, but all languages have been, there's been thousands of words taken out from them by the negative agenda, thousands of words. So we've lost a lot of understanding, and a lot of the words that would have had explained things to more depth. And language was born from sound and has been changed and manipulated and adapted. And it's also with a lot of the different philosophies and religions like the more positive ones like Buddhism or shamanism or paganism, not necessarily the Catholic religion, not necessarily the Catholic religion, but other religions, the Rastafarian, a lot of them, and also the Native Americans, a lot of them use different vocabulary, different words to describe same things. So I think it is, to really educate ourselves, we need to be more encompassing and expansive of just following one path, because one path is never just the truth. It's all, we need to be more expansive than that. And if the Catholic Church has taught us anything, or any religion with negative connotations, such as Christian and Catholic, in my belief, those are very negative and actually very satanic. So it's never a good way to follow one path. I never trust anyone who says follow my path because it's the only path, it's the only way. I run as soon as I hear that, because nothing could be further from the truth for me, and I have heard some spiritual people say, my path is the only path, and it's not. It's not. I make mistakes. I get things wrong. We all do. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's how we change. That's how we adapt. That's how we learn to move forward, is by falling. That's how the toddler, thank you, that's how the toddler learns when he falls down or she falls down. He learns by getting up, by falling down. He learns to get up again and again and again, and eventually he'll get it, or she'll get it. So I see us as being like that, and there's no one truth. There are many truths, and it's hard to discern because we've been lied to so much. And yeah, and anyway, I am talking too much, and Kathy had to go there, so is there anything else before we wrap it up?
Just one quick thing. So just an extension of different way of looking. So I was reading a book where some event happened in like almost 14,000 years back, and that guy has very different way of looking into things. So he was kind of considering in the way of calculating the position of stars, because there is something written in the genealogy of the thing, and he's kind of matching those things with the star event. So there in that book, he was kind of talking about like some kind of thing happened. The tilt of Earth is 26,000. So which is kind of same. on the way, like there's another book by Graham Hancock. I think, yeah. So he talked about that thing. Like there is some story in the Bible where uh, Noah was asked to build a boat, big kind of thing, to carry all those animals. So that story has different kind of backing. It's like in his book he mentioned like the last catastrophic rise of the water was happened around 6,000, 7,000 years back. So around the Caspian Sea or Black Sea. I'm not pretty much sure, but yeah, there's another viewpoint along there. So before that thing, there was a catastrophic event happened around 14,000 or somewhat like that. So there were ports along the shores as long as 20,000 years back, but due to this rise of water, it got submerged. Yeah, just different way of looking.
Yeah. Yeah,
So you mentioned, yeah, yeah,
I think a lot of the ancient texts contain, and also mythology contain a lot of truth, and also
mhm,
a lot of the hieroglyphics and other cave art
right,
contain a lot of truth. You know, those
right,
images are not, some of those images of half man and half horse, for example, and other images are very real. There's an image of dinosaurs in stone art. So yeah, a lot of the mythology, a lot of including the sci-fi films, there's so much truth that we're being shown, that is being sold as mythology, and it's not, you know, things in the Bible as well as other ancient texts that haven't been rewritten by man, because the Bible has been rewritten and reincarnation was taken out. So thank you all for today. Really interesting topics that you're bringing up, Ashish, that are important to our humanity's history. Really important topics. You know, dinosaurs. I remember being told as a child that dinosaurs walked with man, and it was the only thing that they told me as a child that I said to them, that is crazy. I mean, I said to them, that is crazy, because we're taught that dinosaurs and man did not coexist, and they did. And yet I was very odd as a child. So even with my guides and the Pleiadians and my understanding and my all of that, I still said to them that they were wrong because of the indoctrination that was so strong at the time, that less so now, because people are starting to wake up and become more aware and be more expansive in their thoughts, and not be so narrow-minded. And like Katya was saying earlier just now, that, you know, she has a more expansive view and seeks out other teachings, not just one way, because there's never just one way. There's always a multitude of informations. So thank you for today, and I will very much look forward to seeing you all next Sunday. I also have the Saturday group. Saturday is 7 p.m. Irish time. Sunday is 3 p.m. Irish time. Both are by donations. So thank you, everyone, for leaving donations. And is there anything else I need to say? I am available for readings.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead first. Yeah, I was about to ask about that reading for half an hour. So you mentioned about there's some reading for Akashic record that just relate, you know, when Susan spoke about Akashic record, and yeah, reading came out from you. So I'll probably like to go for it.
Yeah, so I do four actually. I do three main readings. I do psychic medium readings, which are kind of regular readings, and then I do starseed readings for starseeds, and then I do a more advanced sessions for where I channel the Pleiadians, and then I also do half an hour which is, so all of the sessions, I close my eyes, I tune into your energy, and I give the information I get, which includes the Pleiadian readings as well. But it's just that I'm connecting to them more for that reading. And so the half an hour readings, I kind of do a little bit of everything within that. Yeah, I guess I do a little bit of everything within that time frame. So they're shorter. They're not as in depth. They're more to the point. They cover things more briefly, because they're limited to the half an hour. Yeah. So my website is somaara.love. If you'd like to book a reading, you can email me at thepleiadianchild@hotmail.com, and you can also join my Substack for free or paid, which is somaara.substack.com. And I've also got a new group that I'm starting for people that have subscribed to my Substack, either monthly, yearly, or as a founder. And the monthly is, I think it's around €11 a month when you subscribe to any of those the Substacks, whether it's monthly, yearly, or a founder. I'm starting a group for those people, which is a private group once a month. So it will be the first of every month. So, and I'm not starting until, I'm skipping March because that's too soon for me to do it. So it starts in the 1st of April, on the 1st of April. So anyone that has subscribed to any thing in Substack, whether it's the monthly, yearly, or founding, gets to be part of that group, which I'm really looking forward to. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, I'd really like to do something also. So I have to figure it out in terms of a reading. Yeah.
Great, Susan. I'd be delighted to do that. That would just be off the scale.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I love you very much. And thank you all for your help and support and advice and connection, really. Yeah, it's very, very heartfelt. And I'll see you all very soon. Okay.
Bye. Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.